Hello, my name is Mitch, and I draw Blood Force. And we're running out of image number ones, but we're not quite out yet. So today we're going to take a look at Whilce Portacio's Wetworks number 1. So this is an interesting comic. Whilce Portacio, of course, one of the kind of founders of Image. He was meant to be, but it didn't really happen for some reasons that were kind of out of his control, unfortunately. Whilce Portacio entered the comic business in the late 80s. And he kind of entered it the same way a lot of people do, where he was inking. He started as an inker, really, and doing a lot of different things. So he did Punisher, so he did some Strange Tales. I think he did a few issues of Alpha Flight when Jim Lee was drawing it. Whilce Portacio inking Jim Lee at the beginning was something that happened quite a bit. He also ended up inking him on a couple of Uncanny X-Men comics, I believe. I know he inked Mark Silvestri on Uncanny X-Men. And he did the inking thing for a few years before it seems anybody felt like giving him a chance at actually penciling. He did get there, I believe, is on Punisher. So he gets a run of about 10 or 11 issues on Punisher, where he shows off that he's good, he's just slow. And then he gets like a couple of fill-in issues on Uncanny. Again, showing off like this guy has chops. So let's give him a little bit. We're gonna put him on X Factor, and he gets a run of about 7 issues there. And that's the comic I first noticed him on. My first comic from Whilce Portacio was X Factor number 65. I think I'm going to come back around to this because first we want to start off with Wetworks. This is more predominantly a Wetworks commentary, but we will roll back to that. And I feel like that's where he kind of establishes himself on X Factor. So shortly after that, his buddy Jim Lee gets his own X-Men comic, X-Men number 1, and somebody's got to draw Uncanny now that Jim Lee's taken off. Well, we know a guy, he's slow, but he's awesome. Why don't we get Whilce to draw Uncanny X-Men? So, Whilce gets Uncanny X-Men number 281. And he gets that for a little while, actually. So this goes 281 through 286, then 289, 290. Maybe not that long, really. But he does get to establish the Whilce look on everything. See, just so many lines. Oh my God, Whilce. Like you can see why they tapped him for Image, you know? Like Whilce can't just make a comic. It's like everything's gotta be just juiced up. You know? The panel layouts are going to be even more messed up than usual. Like, this stuff isn't too bad. There's a little bit of this here where you get some weird layouts going on. I'm sure we'll find some anyway. But, like, the big guys are going to be way too big. If things are emotional, they're going to be way too emotional. Everything is going to be all animate out. I wonder how much of that was an influence. Because I know, like, Jim Lee's reading Macross around not too long before this. And, like, bringing over all sorts of anime stuff. And just, is that influence on Whilce? I think it might be. Anyway, so I guess it was a short run for Whilce, but it was eventful. Because, I mean, he did come up with Bishop during that time period. And, I mean, Bishop's still around, I think. They keep knocking him out every once in a while. But, not too long after that, then. Bunch of Marvel artists decide they're going to break away from Marvel, and they're going to start their own company. And they tap Whilce, because Whilce draws kind of fucking awesome. And they're like, why don't you come with us? And he's like, well, shit, yeah. I've been just kind of sitting around inking for the last 5 years, and, you know, I've finally got my own stuff going. So this must have seemed like the light at the end of the tunnel. You know, he's been working at Marvel for years. And he's finally starting to establish himself as a name, and now he's going to get paid for it. And he gets invited to be one of the founding members, the Big Seven. And so some of these comics start coming out. You know, Youngblood, you get Spawn, you get Wildcats, all that stuff. Brigade, let's not forget Brigade. And the Wetworks ads start coming out. And then Wetworks just doesn't show up. And I don't think we found out why at the time. We get ads every once in a while saying that it's coming. There we go. All right. And it doesn't really show up. And it turns out what was going on was that Wils's sister had contracted some kind of disease. I'm not sure what. It seems like it may have been cancer or something along those lines. And during the intervening time, she passes away. And he's just gutted by this. And so this time where like he's supposed to be enjoying the fruits of his labors, where he's finally establishing himself as, you know, a big name in this field that he's chosen, and like, you know, it's just also the worst time of his life. Isn't that awesome? So 1994, I believe, July of 1994, sounds about right. June 1994. Okay. This is where we got the breakdown of what happened during this intervening time. And it actually doesn't explain very much. But you get the impression that he was very close with his sister, and that's kind of fucking horrible. So let's just talk about what's here, right? So you want to talk about how awesome Will Portacio's artwork is? There we go. Let's get a triple gatefold to just kick things off with. And we're going to get, there we go. Here's our weird layouts. Look at this. I love that shit. I always wanted to kind of copy this kind of thing. It's not something I'm able to do very often, like pull off. But I love that, where you can just follow somebody's trail through a few panels. And I gotta wonder at what the Imagineering process was for Wetworks. It doesn't seem like something that, you know, was something he came up with when he was a kid and then just reworked over the years, like Eric Larson with Savage Dragon, or Todd McFarlane with Spawn, or even to an extent Youngblood. I mean, Youngblood came out, the first drawing for Youngblood came out in 1985. You get no indication. This seems more like the way Jim Lee did Wildcats, where I can come up with a good comic idea. Let's go. Here's a team. This seems like Wills and who was this? Brandon Choi. It is too. Yeah. Wills and Brandon Choi were like, okay, let's come up with a cool concept. So what if the commandos from Predator had to fight vampires? It's like, okay, well, yeah, that's cool, I guess. I mean, that could go either way, though. And it's like, okay, so what if they were, like, half werewolf, half vampires? Like, huge monster vampires. It's okay, well, then the vampires would win. Okay, well, then what if the Predator commandos were also T-1000s? I was like, okay, where are you going with this, Wills? Like, this is, you're giving me 3 different comics here. It just kind of seems like, you know, Wills threw everything cool he could think of into this thing. And I mean, that's maybe not the worst way to go about making a comic, but it doesn't exactly make it cohere very well. But so we get a whole bunch of guys who look very similar. This was kind of a problem, actually. Throughout, I didn't read a ton of these, mostly because they came out very sporadically. And, you know, this one took forever. I think around the time this came out, I was starting to lose interest in the Image titles. I probably still did. I do think I picked up the first, like, 3. Because I've been waiting around so long, and I dug Wilson's stuff so much. Oh, yeah. I'm just looking at these covers. I know all these covers. I picked up at least the first 6. So, yeah, so here we get our guys who don't really have much in the way of personalities. One of them's a Joker guy. That guy's a Joker guy, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So he's the Shane Black character. That's the Billy character, I'm pretty sure. The tracker guy who's stoic and gets spiritual and shit. I think that's the big guy. And then there's another guy. Or that's the other guy. See, this is, you start losing track. And then there's a girl. There's Mother 1 too, though. And I always lose track of which one's girl and which one's Mother 1. Girl is Pilgrim. Okay, so at least, like, we get the names, but without any... this is why you differentiate costumes and colors and shit. And this is Leader Man. And he gets kind of a cool shot to introduce him. And this is, like... Wills is just so good at the double lighting shit. And look at these panel layouts. It does read. You follow it along. You know exactly, like, okay, this is the... You're reading all this, and then, oh, look, it's attached to this, so I go back up here, and oh, there's the word balloons. That's pretty well done. Who's doing the lettering on this? Bill Oakley. That's a kind of a familiar name, but not one of the big ones. And okay, there's a shady government thing going on. You're gonna get a fair bit of exposition. It's not a lot of exposition. I just did a lot of exposition in Blood Force. This is just kind of like a reasonable amount of exposition. But like, this is the kind of thing I mean with the page layouts. Wills loves this shit. Where this is a little weird with the color hold. How it feels like it should be a flashback almost. But I don't think that's the case. This is them landing into whatever their mission is. And this is Mother 1. And she's part of the overseeing kind of thing, relaying between the Wetworks guys and the shady government guys. But yeah, he loves this stuff where you just have no backgrounds, but it's more of a design element that there's no backgrounds. It's not Rob Liefeld laziness. Because, like, he'll draw some motherfucking backgrounds. You know, he'll put some stuff... Even this doesn't feel like I'm drawing... It's not super intricate, but it doesn't feel slapped together or lazy. It feels appropriate. And, I mean, with all of this junk around the panels here, which is completely unnecessary. Like, lazy is not the word you would attach to this. And he would have had time, of course, to get this together when he's coming back from his absence. And we get some interaction with our grunts that we're having some difficulty differentiating. This will not improve, by the way, later on. And here we get our vampires. Do they mention that they're vampires? Because, like, he's sitting right there with fangs out. Because I didn't know what the deal was with Wetworks when it first came out. I just knew it was about guys with, like, that looked like gold T-1000s. And you get to the end of the first issue, I think, and it's like, they're vampires? Oh, that's weird. And here we get our T-1000 symbiote liquid creature things. And again, we get more of these crazy fucking page layouts. This almost seems like it could be a mini pinup. And yep, here we go. The first symbiote. That's weird. That's not a word you really say out loud, you know? Symbiote? 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 I think it's symbiote. The first one goes on the big, strong guy. And he gets all coated in the stuff. And it feels like they were trying to put a little extra thought into it, where he's not gelling with it right away, and he's like basically covered in liquid metal and it's solidifying on him. He can't figure out how to open his mouth. And they kind of talk him through it. And that's all right. But, like, look at this fucking crazy book that Wills is committed to, where he essentially has to draw like 7 Silver Surfers every issue. Like, that's a bit of a commitment. And here we go with just, holy shit, speed lines. That looks like brush, but very straight. I think Scott Williams is inking this. I'm going to keep flipping back to this. Yeah, he is too. Yeah, they wanted they wanted to give Wills a chance to get back into this, so they're gonna give him every kind of advantage they can. They're gonna give him the big gatefold cover. Yeah, no alternate covers. But yeah, no, they're gonna get the Scott Williams ink in them. That's how you make it look professional. They finally figured out color separations. This is the first mention we get that it's vampires. And then, yeah, this is like such a Portatio panel here. And then leading to this for just dialogue. And it's just like everything's getting out of control here. Just in terms of following along what's happening. But it's awesome. And then we get some explosions because the Wetworks guys are being shot at by the creepy government guys. So this is plausible deniability. Because of course it is, right? But leader guy, Dane, has an idea. And he's going to go back and they're all going to get T-1000s. And so big guy T-1000 is going to take on a whole bunch of vampires. Great looking shot. Gotta love all these sound effects. Zrap, zrap. This is like, okay, that one, sure, that's a machine gun. What, zrap, zrap? More zraps. So these are the zrap guns. You get thwacks, you get tang tang. Bullets bouncing off them, I guess. Boom. I gotta love the process where you're just like, you know, you're trying to think of what's a good sound effect. What sounds onomatopoeia enough? And you go zrap. You're like, good enough. Okay, let's go with it. And here's our big double page spread hero shot with all our guys who look alike. So I believe we got big guy, Joker guy, Billy guy. Oh, see, like, I thought this was extraneous guy, but it's like, but then who's this? There's at least two extraneous guys. That's the leader guy. Shit. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, and then Mother 1 got it too somehow. But yeah, I love these layouts. And then shit blows up. Oh, I'm pretty sure that's what that means. Yeah, blows up. Okay. Yep. And you get, like how's that for a panel border? Like a square would have been fine, right? Nope. Not doing that today. And then yeah, so you get this a lot, but it's funny because, I mean, Liefeld does this where you get a long panel with no background or a blank panel, but it doesn't seem on purpose. It seems like he couldn't get around to it. You know, he couldn't be bothered. Here it seems like very intentional. And I love this where he makes guys with absolutely minuscule pupils. So it looks like they're just losing their minds. And more anime gunships. Yeah, look at all this crazy tech stuff. That's so good. And still getting in some crazy lighting. I was going to say, no, okay, well, a little bit of double lighting, yeah. More on this guy here, though. That's some impressive looking stuff. That's tough to pull off. Like he's already, like, top of his game kind of thing at this point. These are a little lazy, but That's okay. At this point, he's just like, okay, just finish the book there, Wills. Yeah, and you can follow this. This is obviously leader of the vampires, or at least the local leader. And you get very cool shot at the end here. A lot of detail. He pulled it together again. Get a nice crash, and I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, I don't read this stuff too closely because I mean it's Brandon Choi. It's not enjoyable or anything. But the art looks fucking great. So, coming soon, Wetworks number 2. We're kind of careful not to say a month, eh? So what's the month? What do we want to guess? First one came out June 1994. Second, August. That's not terrible. Number 3 comes out September. Number 4 comes out November. And then that's kind of the schedule, really, where he'll hit like 4 months out of every 6. Not too bad. But yeah, no, he just can't keep up a monthly schedule. And you can't really blame him. As far as I know, this series never happened. Oh, J. Scott Campbell. J. Scott Campbell's still going. He's still one of the big guys, too, eh? Like, just the guy you get to, I don't know, do a variant cover kind of thing. Because he doesn't feel like doing a whole book. I don't blame him for that. But, yeah, like, how is he supposed to keep up with a monthly schedule drawing all this shit? That's ridiculous. Looks great. Yeah, good stuff. So he stays with that for a little while. He draws the first 9 issues of Wetworks. He doesn't draw issue 10. He draws issue 11 and 12. And then that's it for him on at least volume 1 of Wetworks. And yeah, Wetworks goes for, it's 43 issues, I believe, the first series. I took a look at what the last few issues looked like. It didn't look great. There seems to be a bit of Tom Rainey in the mix there. That's okay. It's not, it's weird. Like, it's not the same, it's not a similar style, but you don't get too many. It's interesting because you get guys who would try and draw like Jim Lee and would get some kind of an approximation. And there's all sorts of guys like that. You get guys who try and draw like Rob Liefeld. That's a bit easier actually to copy. You don't... Will Sportatio is not one of those guys because how do you... Like, it's not just about the way he does lines. It's the proportions. It's the layouts. It's all sorts of speed lines everywhere. It's about, like, through the roof intensity. It's about, yeah, just crazy panel borders. Yeah, nobody really tried to emulate Will's because you kind of couldn't, you know. So he kind of, I don't know, I guess he loses interest in Wetworks, at least for the while. He does a couple of Tales of the Darkness issues. He does something called Stone. He does 2 4-issue series of that. And then, in 2000, Will Sportatio just kind of wakes up from after having been in a diabetic coma for like a week. And it took him like 6 months to learn how to draw again. Which is like, holy shit. And he's never really, it doesn't seem like he's really tried to do monthlies from that point on. He does, he'll do stints, he'll do fill-in bits. But that's really all he's comfortable doing. And, you know, if he can get by on that, then more power to him. Because he's had some hard shit happen to him, man. That fucking sucks. So, I said I was going to get back to this. And, well, this is X Factor number 65. It's kind of more of a supplemental kind of thing. There's not a ton to say about this other than just, I love this comic. So it seems in April of 1991, something just kind of clicked eventually, where I'm like, okay, I'm going to start buying comics now. And I go to the store, and what do I find? This is one of the things I found. And you imagine, like, just like, I've got to see what kind of cool comics are out there, and this is on the fucking shelf. How do you not buy that? And again, this is, like, you can kind of see why he might have had trouble keeping his schedule. Like, look at everything going on in here. I believe this is training stuff. It's been a while since I read this one. Or just, this is diagnostic stuff with the ship. But, like, look at these backgrounds. This is some crazy stuff. I like this layout here, where it's not flat in any way. And here we get a great group shot. A great faded group shot, but it is pretty great. Yeah, this is a training montage bit. I thought so. And there's so much great stuff in here. I always loved how Portatio did the wings. I think Portatio does Archangel better than anybody. I thought he did cool Iceman bits. The way the power blast would just kind of, it would all just kind of come off his hands. I don't think his beast is bad. And his Cyclops always came across super heroic. And yeah, so the bit here is that Apocalypse has his own group that's studying X Factor while they train. And we're just going to break down their weaknesses. How each would kill each, that sort of thing. But these are all pretty cool character designs. That one looks a fair bit like Archangel, really. Yeah, there's your cool splash pages. And yeah, like, Cyclops there looks like he's at least 10 heads high. And you get your typical shot where the team's all tuckered out from training, and he's like, we got to be able to go harder, people. And they're like, we can't go harder. They're like, we can probably go harder. And Archangel's going to go and cool off. Like, you don't even really need to read this stuff. You know exactly what's going on at all times. Who wrote this? I feel like Louis Simonson did a bunch of this stuff. Chris Claremont. All right. Jim Lee and Will Portatio plot. So that says Marvel method to me. And Art T-Bear is doing the inks. Well, it's a lot better than Art T-Bear doing the pencils anyway. But yeah, look at the way he does these wings. Nobody else could do the wings quite like this. Where they get all the little pieces arching off. Most people just do, I don't know, just like big bat wings. And they do the lines coming off of that. But like Wilson would do, like, make more like feathers. But there'd be like all sorts of little pieces sort of breaking away from the whole thing. And like, that's pretty good looking building there. That perspective looks pretty good. That looks like it may have been drawn from life. Like, there may be a reference there. Or I don't know, maybe not. I mean, Wilson's really fucking good. So he might have just pulled that out. I like these bits here too, where Beast needs like 5 hair dryers after a shower. And then they do finally get attacked by Apocalypse. And like, man, try and figure out what's going on here, eh? Christopher, appreciate it. Yeah, so it is, you read it across. Okay, so it is clear. Yeah, and they're going to separate them all. Well, Archangel and Bobby are already out. Yeah, I see, like, this is that's the fucking shot there. This is the problem. I don't have a lot to say about these other than just, they look great. And there's not a lot going on. Just, X Factor decided to train, and then the guys who got angry went away to cool off. And then when that happened, they got attacked by Apocalypse. So they came back, and then you get like a nice little cavalry moment. But like, look at how great that shit looks. I don't think I've ever seen a better picture of Archangel than that. Oh, and this was, I think this was Jean Grey, after a long time just being telekinetic, finally becomes telepathic again. And if, Chris Claremont's running the ship and says that's what's going on, I guess you're allowed to do that. And again, we get like an 11-head apocalypse here. It's just just great looking stuff. And this is great intro stuff. For I kind of happened along at a good time in this book, because I think if I picked it up any sooner, story stuff was going on, I would have been lost. But this one is just, no, man, superheroes be training and then they get attacked, but they fight off the attackers. I think in the next issue they get attacked again by the same guys. It's like, yeah, no shit, I can understand that. And you get useful little files here with, again, a kick-ass drawing of Archangel. And these are the Apocalypse files, so this is all Apocalypse. This is stuff I remember copying directly. I don't believe I tried to copy this one. I did copy that one. Didn't trace it because it's a little small. And I didn't copy and or trace that one because drawing girls is scary. And then I think there's like an Iceman in the next issue I tried drawing too. Yeah. No, I just love this issue. I've had this, I think I've had this issue a few times now. This is one of the first ones I rebought, just because it's like, yeah, no, this is one of the earliest ones I remember. Well, yeah, it turns out it's one of the ones I got right at the beginning. It's great stuff. So yeah, this one, Uncanny X-Men 275, and Amazing Spider-Man 346. I have all of these now. I'm quite pleased about that. So yeah, that should do it for today. Will Sportatio's awesome. I wish he drew more stuff, but no, none of them really do that anymore, do they? So I guess it's okay. If you did want to draw some more stuff, though, I'd probably buy it. So draw some more stuff, Wills. And yeah, that'll do it for me. If you like this video, please hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notifications. You can follow me at Twitter at Team Blood Force. You can go over to my Patreon and subscribe there. Then that's where I put all these videos, as well as all of my finished artwork, all my sketchy artwork. There's all sorts of crap in there now. It's kind of gigantic stockpile. I was going to say crap. It's not really crap. Some of it's pretty good, so you should probably check it out. I always talk like this at the end of these videos. So thanks for coming by.